Welcome back to the Escape the Clock video series, an information series where I, the author of the Escape the Clock book, walks you through how to build your program to financial freedom and early retirement.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3. Last time we went through some expenses and we created the important debt reduction and lifestyle plan, just a basis to get everyone on the right footing. Today we're going to do something probably more exciting, which is to look through how to build up the wealth. There will be actually 3 projects in this episode. I'll be touching on 3 strategies, and with the strategy comes a project set. And what you'll see is these 3 projects are going to be snowballs. They are going to become bigger projects down the line, giving us more options to do bigger and bigger things. So let's get started. The scope for our 3 big projects today are really 4 questions, and they might be the 4 big questions you thought we'd be talking about the whole time anyways. The first is, how do you even save for an early retirement? If this was just a quick finance book, I'd say, hey, here's the 3 tips to save for an early retirement, which you could probably get on another YouTube video if you want. But instead, I'm a program manager, and I wanted to provide you the frameworks and tools that I know anyone can use to be successful at breaking down a complex goal. But still, we have to talk about that question, and we will today. The second is how to take your savings and actually invest them properly. Saving isn't fun. It's not always easy for people, but when you can take that money, invest it, and turn that dollar into $1 or $5 or $10 or $1,000, suddenly it can be kind of fun. It can be very rewarding. So we'll touch on that as well. And of course, we can't talk about financial independence without talking about income. We need logs for the fire, and getting the most logs you can while you're working, that's a core part of it. But what about when that starts to dry up? No one's handing you logs anymore. You've quit work. How do we ensure we still have some coming in to keep that fire healthy? We'll touch on that as well. And also we'll talk about, with all that money and wealth that you're building, how do you keep that money in action? You've accelerated it, but you continue to leverage it properly in the long term. We'll hit that strategy as well. All right. So those projects I mentioned and those questions that we'll answer really come down to 3 strategies. You can see them listed here. The idea of saving over spending, increasing your active income, and moving towards rates for good returns. Those might be self-evident. I hope they are. Really, what you can see here is the idea that we have that savings delta in action working for us. That green arrow means we have cash flow coming in. We're actually using that cash in a smart way to build a really nice nest egg of wealth. And we're accelerating the way we use that cash based on what's happening in the market. For instance, you might think, oh, saving for retirement means I am just putting money in a 401k. Well, you'd be kind of right. It is kind of part of the solution. It's actually kind of hard to save for retirement without using a 401k these days, but that's not the only part of it. There are other things we can leverage, such as a high yield savings account. A savings account that's not just your normal low interest savings account that can take that money and give you a reasonable return. There's also certificates of deposits. If you're willing to lock that money in for a while, 3 months or 2 years, you can get a reasonable return on it. That's growing that money even better. And of course, there's the stock market. There's the real estate market. There's all kinds of markets that we can do to invest our capital, all those savings that we've held on to in order to get more out of it. And of course, there's a lot of options. In Escape the Clock, I cover a lot of these options. For instance, commodities. Back in the day, I remember my uncle and others always talking about investing in gold. That is still something that people do, and you can still do well with it. But my generation, we think more about, the internet, creating royalties, doing things like I'm doing here, YouTube, right? Putting out digital content. You can create good royalties from that kind of thing as well. You're in a retirement situation, you got a lot more time to go and do those things, and you might be able to actually generate even more income even after you've left work. For our save over spend, it's going to be pretty obvious, but the idea is we're going to grow that savings balance by ensuring that we don't have to spend so much money on costs because your cost of living isn't so high that you're in a situation that all of your paycheck goes towards your bills, or worse, debt, because you have high credit card bills. The idea is you got plenty left over and you need to do something with that. Some people might go and treat themselves and buy more. That's not the discipline we're talking about here. Instead, we're so excited that we have that extra money because we need to save it. And saving is part of the plan here. It's like eating your veggies, right? We need to make sure we're doing some of the boring stuff to do the exciting stuff. So the idea is we want to be able to save as much as possible. And in particular, we want to have at least 2 years of cost of living in a savings account. You might go, Why 2 years? I heard 20 or 25 when you were talking about fire. There's probably other numbers floating out there. It look like at the minimum, you should have 6 months of your cost of living in your savings account. Think of that as a rainy day fund. That's your minimum. All times, it's probably the only way to be financially secure. But the reason we say 2 years is because 2 years of cost of living, even for a smaller cost of living like $80,000, actually gives you a lot of capital to work with. It gives you a healthy amount of money that can handle many loan situations. It will allow you to handle maybe that big surprise bill that comes in, but it also gives you a good fund to invest with. So the idea is 2 years is kind of a minimum target. Think of this as a milestone you're working towards. And to get there, we want to accelerate the process. So we want to leverage compound interest. I cover this in the book, but in general, you can look it up. But the idea is you want to use accounts where the interest is generating more interest for you. So that means even if you stop putting money into the account, it will still grow. You want every month some growth in the account. Best way to do this is to consistently put more money into the account every month, allowing that interest to compound and compound and compound on top of your contributions so that you can really get an exponential amount of growth in your savings to hit your goal as quickly as possible. But to be able to save a lot, we need to be able to make that money, right? It's all about your active income. Active income means the money you're getting through your job. You'll hear me talk about passive income as well, but for now, I'm talking about your active income. So what this means is being willing to make some moves at work, treating work as a means to an end. Means is a paycheck. The end is your financial independence. This is different than most people think about their relationship with work. I know I've talked to, hundreds of people. I know the way they think about work. A lot of our identities get entangled with work. It becomes very personal. It can be hard to think of it as a means to an end. But look at the research I put in the book and some of what I've been talking about. There's a lot of regrets people have by the time they get to their forced retirement, where work ends. A lot of those relationships will end, and people will go, "Why did I kill myself on that? It didn't generate extra money for me, and now I'm off on my own doing these things, and I regret that I didn't spend that time. That time would have been more valuable than me trying to hustle or that praise or that extra money." No, that's not me saying do a bad job at work. It's the opposite. I'm saying do a great job at work, but do a great job where it will yield positive outcomes toward your goal. Meaning, you need to understand your job ladder. You need to understand your job career trajectory. This requires a little work. We'll talk about this in the project planning, but you need to be able to understand at this level, I might be able to earn this amount of money. If I got promoted, I might earn this amount of money. If I switch job roles or companies or whatever, I could earn X amount more. A little bit of research will go a long way here. The last part is in creating new income streams. This is money outside of your day job. This could be money from side work. This could be money from your investments. This could be money from, a YouTube video. It doesn't matter. The idea though is you want to get that muscle built. You actually can do a lot with a microphone and a camera. You have skills, you have value. I promise you, if you have a job, you have skills. The question is, what skills are those and how do you want to capitalize them? It might be that you are an artist. If you're an artist, you can there are platforms today where you can try to make money through royalties for your work. Maybe you have a great speaking voice. You know what? You could potentially do voice acting. Think about all the possibilities of how to leverage your unique talents because there is demand out there. You can make more money. Now, what I want you to think about, though, is which of these income streams are things that will last when your work is done. That passive income is an important part of the strategy, and you can find out lots of options of those in the Escape the Clock book, and we'll continue to talk about those throughout the videos. And the last one is moving towards rates. That might sound obvious, like, of course, if I can get a better return on something, won't I just do it? The answer is yes, but you have to know how to move and look for those rates. For instance, a normal savings account has terrible rates, just terrible. Like you're probably getting like 0.03% if you have a normal savings account. When you hear people say, "Oh, no one has savings." Yeah, I get it. Like if you're using a normal savings account, you put your money in there and you get pennies back. That's not very, rewarding. Now, the goal here, though, is we want to get to high interest savings accounts. Now, those typically have a minimum qualified balance, and we'll talk about that project in a moment. Savings is important, especially high rate savings accounts. But there's other types of accounts too. You'll see there's money market accounts. You can have certificates of deposits. And then, of course, there's things like stocks or even real estate investments. You can invest in storage units. Imagine refrigerated storage units. Like that's an area you could put your money into that and actually do pretty well. There are many, many, many options. Now, the right one for you, that depends on your risk tolerance. That depends on your expertise and your really opportunity based on your area. For instance, you might be in an area that has a lot of potential real estate upside. Well, that would be really lucrative for you to be in that area, local, and able to take advantage of that. Or maybe you don't have those opportunities, but you're someone who is able to do really good web searches and find the best rates on certificates of deposits. I can teach you different rolling strategies so that you're always taking your money and moving it and leveraging the best of the market at any given time on one CD to the next CD, always maximizing the amount of return that you're getting. So lots of strategies for lots of different things. But what you don't want to do is just sit on cash. You need some level of cash in case everything blows up. What we just covered before, ideally in a high interest savings account. What you do want to have is most of your capital in some level of investment so it's growing. Because even if the market goes down, we're going to leave it alone. And we're going to see that over time, these little blips are just blips. Things will have ideally be on an upswing, and we will see real growth and high returns. So shop for those returns, create those income streams, make sure that we can actually get money out of our money. Here are the 3 big projects for today. You'll see they cover those strategies that we talked about up front. First is bootstrapping some savings, meaning that 2-year cost of living goal, meaning that you actually did the analysis. You can check out the demo tutorial videos on how to go do that. But knowing your cost of living, especially a target one, start making some real progress there, but only after eliminating high interest debt. This is a secondary priority to that. Eventually, you'll hit that goal and you'll accomplish an important milestone. And as you see, this is one of our major milestones for our program. Eventually, you'll hit some minimum balance, meaning that you can take that low interest savings account and turn it into a higher interest savings account. Shop around, find a good rate. And what you might see is with a good balance in one of those accounts, you're getting paid a good amount of interest every single month. And in a retirement situation, that can be really lucrative. For instance, if you're making $1,000 a month in a high yield savings account just from interest, that is easily accessible. You're not selling a stock. You can take that money, you can cover other costs with it, or you can let it compound and grow even faster. The next one is about your income advancement. Like I mentioned before, having a good idea where your career might go, where you stand on it, how to move forward. It's really important. This means having conversations with managers and coworkers, doing some online research, just really understanding your field. A good mitigation for that is to find a good mentor at work, someone who's actually made the steps that you're looking to make. A lot of people love to teach, and it could be a good thing, buy them lunch or take them out for a coffee, establish a good mentor in that. Also, having a plan B in mind is really important. Things won't always work out. Careers can change. Having a plan B to fall back on means that you're still making progress, and you might actually like that other career better and maybe purposely make that switch. Or if not, you might find that your plan B is generating passive income for you. It might be something you'd like to do even in your retirement, or what we call a semi-retirement. So anyways, have a plan in place for your career. And while you're doing it, think about your passive income options. There are tons of options. And in the Escape the Clock book, I go through many, many, many of them. This is anything from creating annuity payment plans to early retirement fund access, dividends, rentals, royalties. Like there's so many options here. So it just depends on what your interest is, but start doing that research at least. Then we get new investments. Even if you've never invested once in your life, this is the time to start. There's really no reason not to do it. Start with low cost index funds, especially like, ETFs, and every single paycheck buy some. I promise you, if you do nothing else, this is going to help you make real progress to financial independence. Just buy them and forget about them. You can use a robo-advisor. It's kind of like an online service where you can tell it about your risk tolerance, set up some rules, and let it do the work for you. And it will, over time, you're going to see you're actually going to have some real investment portfolio growing. This is just really to start building the muscle. But the next task is really the bigger one, though, which is creating an investment plan. So if you go through the book, we talk about a lot of different investment types of things you could do. But what you want to do is think about plans that are going to have high reward for you, good returns. So you can work with a financial advisor if you're not comfortable doing that on your own. Just make sure you're vetting them. Know how they get paid. Ask if they're a fiduciary. Try to figure out, are they actually understanding your goal? Are they asking you the right questions? Because they will be very excited to work for you. And they will definitely promise they're going to make you some big money. They will all promise that. The question is, are they doing it in a way that's actually helping you to your goal? And are they bringing you along on it? these are the projects for today. This should really help us get going. Later, we'll cover more ways to work with savings accounts and more passive income strategies and more investment strategies. But this should help you really get your projects formed for today. Okay, well, that's it. That's the plan. We're going to clobber those costs. We're going to save smartly and grow through investing. Sounds so easy, right? And actually, it's actually not that hard. It's really the hard part is that controlling the spending part. Investing might seem scary, but you can actually do really careful, controlled investing. Saving, it's really not difficult at all. The question is, can you stick with it and not go, oh, I just want to put everything into investing. I'm not going to save anything. That's risky. We're always thinking about risk. So, make sure there's no debt, control and optimize costs, invest something, always have some savings as well. Remember, this isn't really about getting rich quick. This is about putting the right, pieces in place. We're setting up that checkmate on the board, right? We're moving a pawn here. We're setting up a knight there. And before you know it, you're going to start capturing key pieces and you're going to get that surprise checkmate, maybe even faster than you think. And so that's it for today's episode. Next episode, I'm going to take you through paying for the American dream. How do you actually pay off those loans, including the mortgage and even financing for expensive college education? See you then.
Quick reminder, I'm a retired program manager, not a financial planner or a fiduciary. All the information presented here and in the Escape the Clock book is expected to be reviewed with a certified professional. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Support the show by visiting escapetheclock.com, where you can find the guide, the planner, and more episodes. If you need help with building or running your program, you can schedule help at the site. If you, a friend, or loved one is feeling trapped by work or money, let them know about escapetheclock.com. Remember, time is your most valuable asset. Start living life on your terms and escape the clock.